You're watching Sinistermoon's Retro Reviews, and I'm a snake. I'm a sooty little snigger snake.
Hey everybody! Today I want to talk about a new game for Intellivision. Well, it's not really a new game per se, but more of a new version of an old game. That game, of course, being Raiders of the Lost Ark. The movie came out in 1981 and the game came out later on in 1982. It was programmed by the legendary Howard Scott Warshaw. It was the second game after Yara's Revenge. Even though Atari Inc. put out the original in 1982, there's also a version that came out in 1986 from Atari Corp that is considered to be rare, so if you see it, for sure pick it up. You'll notice that it has a different front label, and that the end label says Raiders Lost Ark. Howard Scott Warshaw demonstrated the game for Steven Spielberg, and Spielberg actually really liked it because it played a lot like the movie. However, the game didn't do very well with gamers at the time because it wasn't the easiest game to figure out. It's a game that you absolutely have to read the manual for, and even then, the manual left out things that would have been nice to know. Of course, in 1982, there wasn't any internet, so you couldn't just look up a playthrough on YouTube or anything like that. I remember the first time I played this game back in 1985 when I was 5 years old. I played it at my cousin's house since he had an Atari. I had an Intellivision growing up, so I only got to experience Atari through other people. I remember being confused as to why Indy wasn't moving at all. My cousin didn't have the manual and he had already fallen asleep for the night, so I just turned it off and played other games instead. So for over 36 years now, I never went back and tried to figure the game out until now. I came to find out that Indy is controlled by the second joystick, and the first joystick is just used to select and drop items. But even after reading the manual and watching a bunch of videos, I still can't get very far in the game at all. I find Raiders of the Lost Ark on Atari 2600 to just overall be a very frustrating game. It looks so simplistic, but I just can't figure it out all the way, and that's why it's so freaking frustrating. Maybe in time I could, but honestly I just don't even want to. It's just that frustrating. So now that I've talked about the original a bit, let's move on to the new Intellivision version. The first thing that you'll notice is that it's graphically superior to the 2600 version. There's quite a bit that's been improved. In the 2600 version, Indy could only hold 6 items, but in the Intellivision version, he can hold up to 13 items. Oh, and also no more of that 2 joystick crap since Intellivision has plenty of buttons on their controllers. Only 1 controller is required to play this version of the game. The sounds are vastly superior to the 2600 original as well. You know, another thing that I can point out is that when you drop a grenade in the entrance room, you just have to kind of like stand away from the explosion. In the original, you had to leave the room, otherwise you'd just die regardless of where you stood. I really like how the programmer of the Intellivision version kept the Atari copyright and title screen, and he even kept at least one of the Easter eggs from the original version. I've been playing this new version for a couple weeks or so now, but I have still yet to complete the game, with or without the Ark. But you know what? That's cool. I don't let it take away from the game. You can't discredit a game just because you're not that great at it, or if you suck at it or something, you know? That's not the game's fault. This version of the game actually makes me want to keep playing, unlike the old version, which does not. The only real complaint I have about this new version is that the main theme song doesn't sound anything like it should. Everything else is great though, really. I mean, if you enjoyed the VCS version, then you should enjoy this version even more. If you dislike the original, then you might actually like this version since it's overall better in every way. Something I should mention though, in order to find the medallion, you have to stand over a basket in the marketplace with the magic flute equipped. The manual for the 2600 original failed to mention that, and unfortunately so does the manual for the new Intellivision version. That's the only advice I'm going to give you though. I'm not going to tell you how to play the game or what all the items do and all that kind of thing. The reason being is that I just haven't got very far in the game. I haven't beat the game with or without the Ark, like I said. And on top of that, this game, or this version of the game anyhow, is coming out today. The same day that I'm putting out this review. And I don't want to spoil it for people that want to figure it out on their own. I want to give a big thank you to Rev of Intellivision Revolution for sending me a copy of this game to check out and to show everyone. He'll be selling copies of this game at Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and I assume he'll have it on his site for sale at some point as well. So if you don't make it out to Portland Retro Gaming Expo, then I suggest checking out his site, which is Intellivision Revolution, and you can also find him on the Atari Age forums in the Intellivision section. Honestly, I think that the box and overlay art alone makes this game worth having in your collection. Maybe you're just a big fan of Indiana Jones and you want something for your Indiana Jones collection, or maybe you're an Intellivision fan and you want it because it's on Intellivision. Maybe you're a fan of the original Atari 2600 version, so you want this version. I don't know, whatever, but I mean, there's plenty of reasons to own this game, honestly. Like, you should probably buy a copy, because I mean, why not, right? It's Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones kicks ass. You know what I'd really like to see on the Intellivision is a version of Temple of Doom, the arcade game. I just think that would be perfect with the IntelliVoice, and you could have the voice samples up in there. I mean, graphically, it wouldn't look as good as the arcade original, like not even close. But I think that they could pull it off. I think it would be good enough, and like with good sound effects and like voice samples and whatnot. Oh man, that would just be awesome. That would totally rock. I've always liked that game way more than this game. And you know, when I was a kid, I kind of liked Temple of Doom more than I liked Raiders of the Lost Ark, like the movies. And, you know, partly because of Short Round. Like, Short Round was relatable because he was a kid and I was a kid, and then plus he was in Goonies. And, I mean, come on, Goonies is just like one of the best movies of all time. Not that Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom isn't, but you know, it's not as good as Goonies. Anyhow, I think I've said enough for now. I'm gonna play this game more. I'm gonna try to get further in it. I would really like to beat the game with the Ark, and I'd like to do so while watching Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think that would just be an amazing night. Didn't Indiana Jones love snakes? Isn't that the line from the movie? Snakes! I love snakes! Yeah, that's it.
Hey, this is Tommy Chong, and you've been watching Sinistermoon's Retro Reviews. It's far out, man, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Sinistermoon's Retro Reviews.